We are on episode 9 of Fear Itself. This one is Something with a Bite. Our first werewolf story. Probably my favorite subgenre of horror. There should be way more werewolf stories. And actually this one does not involve a teenage girl turning into a werewolf like Ginger Snaps or Blood and Chocolate. Our main character is this guy, a veterinarian by the name of Wilbur. Wilbur is played by Wendell Pierce, who's most known for being in 60 episodes of The Wire, where he played Detective William Bunk Moorhead. And here they set the stage for his character, which is kind of a lovable goof. He's slovenly. We see him sloppily eating this powdered jelly donut, which he gets all over his white veterinary coat. And for some reason, he has a super hot, sexually charged wife that he doesn't seem very interested in, by the name of Patty. She's constantly sticking her ass in his face and shaking her tatas around, and he doesn't really seem to care. But this will change later on.
Good morning, Wilbur.
Good morning, Patty.
What is that on your shirt? No, you've got to change your shirt. Hi, Mom.
Patty. Come on, Patty. Ear infection. Worms.
So Wilbur has people kind of walk all over him, a wife that wants to have sex with him that he doesn't want to, and he's just kind of going through life, going through the motions, being very inoffensive, slovenly, overweight, but still kind of lovable. This all changes when they get an animal rushed into their veterinary clinic, a very large animal. They think maybe someone's dog, and it takes a bite out of Wilbur.
Michaela, are you all right?
There starts to be a change in Wilbur. He gets a little more gumption, a little more testosterone. Turns into a little more of an animal, if you will. He's a bucking bronco in the bedroom, and his wife likes it. He's standing up for himself more at work, and he's also having these visions that he doesn't exactly remembers what happens. He feels stronger, more powerful, more confident, everything. But there's also another problem here. 2 of his co-workers end up getting attacked by this creature. The first guy, who throughout this episode has constantly been calling in sick and taking time off and basically just using Wilbur's good nature against him. Wilbur knows he should have fired this guy a long time ago, but just keeps giving him 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 9th, 29th chances of not showing up to work and playing video games. As we see here, well, he ends up dead, killed by some creature that some people think is a wolf.
You gotta be kidding me.
And then another person he works with ends up getting attacked by this creature as well. She doesn't die. She's in the hospital, but she's really scarred up. So we're led to believe it seems like Wilbur himself is turning into a werewolf and doing these killings. But there's a little bit of a twist later on. And so far, I think this episode is quite good. It is a different take on the werewolf genre. I haven't really seen this before. You have your American Werewolf in Paris and London. You have your Hallians, you have your Wolfins. And of course, as I mentioned earlier, the Ginger Snaps. A guy who works as a veterinary who already has an attachment to animals is kind of a clever way of doing it. He already likes animals, and him turning into a werewolf actually makes him a better veterinarian. He now can literally do a Dr. Dolittle where he's talking to the animals. He simply just feels their chest and he knows what's wrong with them. So this has improved his marriage, his sex life, his confidence, and even his job. But he also isn't sure if he's committing these murders. The tone of this episode too is just about right. It's not completely goofy. Wilbur himself is kind of a goober at the beginning and lets people walk all over him. But it's not like an outright comedy, and this cop that keeps coming after him is pretty funny as well. But it still has some scares, especially when the werewolf bit him, and then towards the end, which we're going to see in a second. Wilbur uses his super scent, this new power he has, to sniff out who is doing these murders, and it ends up being this dork. A guy who is pretending like he's a werewolf. I mean, look at this getup. He looks ridiculous.
Do what they sent you for. Bite me. Now I have teeth and claws, but I still have no bite. It's all a tribute to you. You didn't come to bite me.
He himself wants to be a werewolf, so he actually wants Wilbur to bite him. We see that the werewolf effects are kind of all over the place. Like, it sometimes looks good when it was on the table and they do a close-up of the head. That looks fairly realistic. But whenever they move the camera away and you get the werewolf in full frame, it's obviously just a guy in a costume and not really a great costume. So while I appreciate the fact that they want to show the entire thing, a lot of times you can just be really cheap and just show close-up of a claw going across someone's face, show a foot, show an elbow. So they actually do show the entire thing, but it's not quite up to snuff. But there are some parts where it looks good. It just seems a little inconsistent. Sometimes it looks like an actual wolf, sometimes it looks like a dog, sometimes it looks like this gigantic guy in a costume. It's like they couldn't really settle on what they wanted this werewolf to actually look like. Sometimes it looks small, sometimes it looks big. This isn't Dog Soldiers, but then again, nothing really is. So Wilbur does not bite this guy who's pretending to be a werewolf and killing all these people with his fake claws and his fake mask. He actually just ends up eating them, which I don't know why the guy wouldn't think that's what he would do to begin with. Maybe he reads too much online werewolf fanfic or something, because he just gets gobbled up. Apparently does not turn you into a werewolf. If you get bitten and you still survive, you'll turn into a werewolf. But if you literally just get torn limb from limb and eaten, yeah, that doesn't really work. And we get a pretty nice ending. We learn that the werewolf that originally bit him in the veterinary clinic, his name is Michael, by the way, he has a name, is owned by this older couple. And Michael escaped from them one day, and they're actually werewolves too. So this guy's a werewolf, she's a werewolf, Michael's a werewolf. Almost everyone's a werewolf at this table right now, except for his son and one more person, his wife. And so to complete the circle, he wants to share everything with his wife. And so he gives her a little nibble as well. She seems like she kind of likes it, and I think they'll live a happy werewolf life together. And they also explain that werewolves don't actually have to go out and kill people. In fact, this couple is a vegetarian, so they don't need to eat meat. They can eat whatever they want. They can get Subway, they can get a salad at Salada. So I'm going to give Something with Bite a 6 out of 10. All the episodes so far have been above average, which is going to change very soon with the next one, Chance, which is going to be below average. But everything up until this point has been pretty above average and really creative stories. This is not a werewolf story that I've seen before, and that's something to be lauded in the horror genre that relies on tropes a lot of times, understandably. This episode was directed by Ernest R. Dickerson, who's most known for doing the Tupac Shakur 1992 movie Juice, and the pretty underrated and I think good Tales from the Crypt movie Demon Knight in 1995. And since then, he's done a ton of TV shows. In fact, he directed 6 episodes of The Wire, which is probably where he met our main character, Wilbur. And continues to direct today everything from The Man in the High Castle, Godfather of Harlem, 11 episodes of The Walking Dead, Sleepy Hollow, Dexter. So that seems to be his main gig now. He's moved away from movies and done complete TV shows. And he does a pretty good job. Next up is episode 10, Chance, where we take a little bit of a downhill slope, but it's still worth watching. There's some good parts. The guy gets locked in a antique shop the entire episode. The one after that, Spirit Box, though, is really good. That features a fresh-faced Anna Kendrick. Check out our playlist for all the episodes of Fear Itself, Monsters, and Tales from the Dark Side in order, and I'll see you in a few days.